Imagine a quiet suburban family, the Harrows Thomas, Elise, and their daughter Leila disappearing without a trace. 2 weeks later, their bodies are found buried alongside a stranger, Vanessa Cole, and the shocking truth about Thomas Harrow's secret life is revealed. This is one of the most twisted cases you'll ever hear. If you want to uncover every chilling detail, stay active with us. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a shocking story from our channel. The Harrow family lived in a neighborhood where nothing ever seemed out of the ordinary. Their home sat at the end of a quiet street, framed by neat gardens and a freshly painted fence. To neighbors, they were the kind of family people pointed to as an example of stability. Thomas Harrow, with his successful career as an architect, often left early in the morning with blueprints tucked under his arm. Elise, with her gentle smile and reserved nature, worked part-time at the local library, where she was known for recommending books to children. Their teenage daughter Leila was equally admired, often described as bright and considerate. To those who lived nearby, the Harrows were everything a family should be. Yet beneath the surface of this well-polished image, cracks had begun to form. Hidden from the outside world, the first sign that something was wrong appeared on a summer evening. A neighbor walking her dog noticed the Harrows' front door slightly ajar. At first, she thought little of it, but the next morning, the door remained wide open, and the house seemed eerily still. Police were called, and when they entered, the scene inside was unsettling. Nothing was broken, nothing stolen, and nothing appeared forced. Plates with half-eaten meals rested on the counter, as though dinner had been abandoned in a hurry. Leila's schoolbooks were neatly laid out across the dining table, suggesting she had been studying before suddenly stopping. Upstairs, clothes were scattered on a bed, as if someone had been packing or preparing to leave. What troubled investigators most was the silence. No note, no footprints leading away, no trace of where the family had gone. The house seemed frozen in time, perfectly intact, yet deeply wrong. This was not a burglary or a rushed departure. It was something far stranger, and it marked the beginning of a mystery that would grow darker with every passing day. 2 weeks after the Harrows vanished, the quiet community was shaken by a gruesome discovery. A jogger following a trail in a dense forest on the outskirts of town stumbled across what looked like a disturbed patch of earth. Curious, he pushed aside leaves and branches, only to find plastic sheeting peeking through the soil. Authorities were called immediately, and what they uncovered would change the investigation completely. Beneath the dirt lay 3 shallow graves, each containing a body wrapped with unsettling care. The forensic team worked quickly, and within hours, the grim truth was revealed. 2 of the bodies were identified as Elise and Leila Harrow. The third, however, did not belong to Thomas. The mystery deepened as investigators tried to understand who this unknown victim was. At first, speculation spread that it could be a relative or a friend, but no one close to the family matched the description. The answer came after fingerprint analysis revealed she was Vanessa Cole, a young woman reported missing from a town 3 hours away. She had no known connection to the Harrows, which made her presence among them deeply unsettling. Even more disturbing, all 3 deaths occurred on the same night. For investigators, the puzzle pieces didn't fit neatly together. If Thomas was still alive, why wasn't he among the dead? If he was guilty, why bury his own family beside a stranger? The burial site itself raised further questions. It was carefully chosen, far enough from public roads to avoid attention, yet shallow enough to suggest haste. The wrapping of each body, however, indicated deliberate intent rather than panic. This was not the work of someone acting on impulse. It felt orchestrated, as if part of a larger, hidden plan. And Thomas Harrow had suddenly become the central figure in a case that was only getting darker. As investigators dug deeper, the image of Thomas Harrow as a devoted husband and father began to crumble. The polished exterior of his life gave way to disturbing revelations that painted him as a man who had been living in two separate worlds. The breakthrough came when detectives uncovered a storage unit rented under a false name. Inside, they found dozens of boxes filled with journals, strange drawings, and carefully organized newspaper clippings. Many of these clippings were about women who had vanished in nearby towns over the past decade. Alongside them were sketches depicting violent acts and detailed notes about specific routines of women who seemed to be strangers. The discovery was enough to suggest that Thomas had been harboring dark obsessions long before his family disappeared. Investigators also uncovered encrypted emails that revealed he had been luring women by offering fake architectural job opportunities. The digital trail linked him directly to Vanessa Cole, the woman found buried with Elise and Leila. It was chilling. Proof that Thomas had been involved in her disappearance, and it tied his secret life directly to the case. Meanwhile, the investigation into Elise revealed she had recently contacted a divorce attorney. Records showed she had begun quietly withdrawing money from a joint account and making inquiries about custody arrangements. Investigators theorized that Elise may have confronted Thomas about his double life, or at least about suspicions she couldn't ignore. This confrontation, combined with the exposure of his hidden activities, could have triggered the violent unraveling that followed. The pieces began to form a disturbing picture. Thomas wasn't simply a grieving father gone missing. He was a man with a long hidden darkness, one who had constructed a facade of normalcy while carrying out a secret life that no one around him had suspected. Once Thomas Harrow's secret life came to light, the search for him intensified. His name and face were everywhere on television, in newspapers, and plastered across digital billboards. The image of the once respected architect had now transformed into that of a dangerous fugitive. Investigators believed he was on the move constantly, never staying in one place long enough to be caught. Reports trickled in of sightings at gas stations and roadside diners. Each tip gave hope, but by the time authorities arrived, Thomas had already slipped away. It became clear he was calculating every step, always staying just far enough ahead of the people hunting him. The first major lead came from a motel clerk who remembered a man matching Thomas's description checking in under an assumed name. When investigators traced the license plate of the car he had been driving, it led to a tense pursuit on a remote highway. The chase ended abruptly when the vehicle swerved off the road and crashed into a ditch. Yet when officers approached, they found the driver's seat empty. Thomas had abandoned the car and vanished into the surrounding woods. Inside the vehicle, investigators discovered blood-stained clothing, a burner phone, and a small notebook filled with unnerving entries. Among scattered pages of rambling notes was a chilling list of names. Many were crossed out, including Elise, Leila, and Vanessa. Two names, however, remain untouched at the bottom of the page. Investigators quickly determined these were real women living in nearby towns. The revelation suggested Thomas had already chosen his next victims. This discovery changed the tone of the investigation from pursuit to prevention. Police worked urgently to locate and protect the women whose names appeared in the notebook, fearing they had only days or hours before Thomas resurfaced again. The manhunt for Thomas Harrow finally reached its shocking conclusion weeks later, deep in a remote mountain range. Hikers navigating a seldom-used trail stumbled across a small, weathered cabin hidden among thick pine trees. Inside, authorities found the remains of a man who had apparently taken his own life. Identification confirmed that it was Thomas Harrow. The discovery brought a grim sense of closure to a case that had haunted investigators for months, yet the cabin held more than just his body. A locked box, hidden beneath a loose floorboard, contained a series of disturbing items, more sketches, clippings, and a journal detailing years of obsession and manipulation. Among the writings was a final note, and signed yet unmistakably Thomas's, in which he admitted to living a double life, and outlined the steps that led to his crimes. The last lines of the note were particularly chilling. "You think you've found me, but there are others like me, waiting." Investigators were left to grapple with the possibility that Thomas's crimes were not entirely isolated, that his warning could signal the presence of others operating in secrecy, even after Thomas's death. The mystery surrounding the Harrows remained unsettling. Questions lingered about whether all of his plans had been revealed, and whether anyone else had been unknowingly drawn into his dangerous world. The careful planning, the precise execution, and the cryptic final message painted a portrait of a man whose mind operated far beyond ordinary comprehension. For the Harrow family, the truth was nothing short of a nightmare. A home that once represented safety and normalcy became the backdrop for one of the most twisted cases authorities had ever encountered. The combination of betrayal, hidden obsession, and meticulously concealed violence made the story unforgettable. Though the case was technically closed, the chilling details and unanswered questions ensured it would remain in the minds of those who followed it for years, a haunting reminder of how appearances can be deceiving and how darkness can hide in the most ordinary places.